So thank you for joining the webinar today. We're very excited to be talking about Kickstart. It is proving to be a very popular and successful scheme so far. So good to have you on board. So with me today on the panel is Christine Holland from Reed, as well as Lucy Whelan from the NPA, and myself, Hinal, from the NPA, and of course Simon, who is kindly working behind the scenes. So what we'll do first is we'll start with a poll just to gauge where you all are in the process, and then we'll go to a few video clips. So Simon, if you can do the first poll, please.
I certainly can, of course.
Perfect. So what we'll do first is just go through a few two video clips. The first one is a very quick one, just to give you an essence what the scheme is about, and the second is where the Chancellor has spoken to one of our board members, Raj, and his Kickstarter. So Raj did recruit his Kickstarters very early on, so before we started this joint scheme. So the role is very different to the one that we do offer on our scheme. But again, it's just to give you an essence of what the scheme is about. So Simon, if you can play the videos, please.
Certainly will, thank you. Just be a second.
The £2 billion Kickstart scheme is underway, and we're calling on employers from all sectors to sign up now. If you can offer new, high-quality 6-month placements for young people, the government will fully fund the position, including the relevant national minimum wage for 25 hours a week, the associated employer national insurance contributions, and employer minimum automatic enrolment contributions. And you'll be joining the national effort to support young people into employment.
A new programme to give hundreds of thousands of young people in every region and nation of Britain the best possible chance of getting on and getting a job.
Okie dokie, that's video number one. I'll just give me 1 second to launch the second video.
And I was talking to Ellen just before. I'm obviously incredibly biased because I started my first job working for my mum in her pharmacy, doing exactly what Ellen is doing. So I'm excited to see what Ellen's been up to. So Ellen, why don't you tell us?
So I'm currently training to be a pharmacy dispensing assistant. It's actually a combined dispensing assistant course provided by Hollywood. So when I started in the pharmacy, I didn't know anything to do with the industry or pharmacy. I'm about halfway through now. I'm still learning, but I'm assisting with dispensing medication. I help screen patients to refer to the pharmacist. And I'm constantly broadening my knowledge with the help of the pharmacist and other staff members. I'm really enjoying working in the vaccination centre currently. I find it really rewarding. Everyone's so grateful, and yeah, it's been really good.
Fantastic, Ellen. And obviously, because pharmacies are open, presumably you're able to work in the actual pharmacy, so you're going in every day. Yeah, I am. Yeah, and it's been very busy, but it's been very satisfying. Yeah. Good. Well, I'm full of admiration and excited that you're doing exactly what I did. It's great, and it's incredibly rewarding talking to all patients and helping them. And Raj, for you, I mean, I think Ellen was saying it's not that she came as a ready-made dispensing assistant. Is that? I mean, so hopefully you can take people with a broad range of experience by the sound of it.
Absolutely, Chancellor. I think, as Ellen said, she when she started, she knew very little, and we don't expect our Kickstarters to know a lot. So the spectrum is absolutely wide. But all we ask for is be humble and be caring, and that's what patients need. That's what patients require. And we will provide you with the training. So we've got a double qualification. So when Ellen leaves, she will have a qualification in dispensing assistant, and also she'll have a qualification in the medicines counter assistance course, which is provided by the National Pharmacy Association. So, we will guide them, we will get them through to what they need to learn right the way through the week. And therefore, the net is so wide. As long as you are caring and you're willing to work, willing to learn, there's a place.
Well, that's fantastic, right? It's broad and available to everyone. Brilliant. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Raj, do you have any thoughts on that as well?
Yes, Chancellor. I think in terms of over the last year or so, pharmacy funding has not been as it should, and maybe that's a different conversation at a different time. But I think it's been absolutely pivotal that we have had our Kickstarters in. We've lost nobody. In fact, it's been so busy that we required more staff, and for two reasons. One, that the pharmacy was extremely busy, and the other reason was that we were losing people on isolation, for COVID isolation. So both of those reasons required us to have more staff. But unfortunately, and I'm not trying to teach people to suck eggs here, but there is a finite amount of funding that's available within pharmacy, and therefore we've got to make sure that we're able to meet those bills. And I think this is a fantastic scheme for employers in terms of introducing young, vibrant people like Madeline and Ellen into the business, and hoping that they'll flourish into being employed within our profession, hopefully.
Okay, Hino, back to you.
Great, thank you for playing those videos. So that was just to give you an essence of what the scheme is about, how it's working, and that there are Kickstarters out there that have never worked in pharmacies before but are finding rewarding careers. And in Raj's case, he's recruited around 30 Kickstarters over his branches, and they're keeping on 4, and about 15 have moved to positions in other pharmacies. So it just goes to show what a success the scheme is and has been. What we'll move on to now is the presentation. So if we can share those slides, please.
Of course, thank you.
And in the meantime, if you have got questions, feel free to write them in the Q&A. We've got people on the panel to answer those questions. Otherwise, if we think that the questions need to go through at the end, then we'll verbally go through the answers as well. If they are specific to your case, then you can write them in, but we will most likely reply to you within several working days if it's specific to you, or Christine will get in touch with you over the next couple of days. So we will be running through what the Kickstart scheme is, misconceptions about the scheme, benefits, and the overall process with key information. First, we will look at what the scheme is and clarify any misconceptions. So these vacancies are for 16 to 24-year-olds who are on universal credit and at risk of long-term unemployment. So while these Kickstart placements are going to benefit you, they should also benefit the Kickstarter, with the aim to make them more employable and increase their skills and experience. You should treat them like normal employees. They should be interviewed, as part of this experience is giving them that interview experience. And if you choose not to go ahead with them, giving them constructive feedback is also beneficial to their experience and their learning. They are employees, so sick pay rules apply, as do holidays, as you'll see in the employer contract that you get emailed. Again, the aim of the scheme is to give applicants experience. So they may have minimal qualifications, they may not have CVs, they may not have prior experience working in a pharmacy or any prior experience. So please bear this in mind when recruiting, and remember that they will receive adequate employability training and the Medicines Counter Assistant course. A reminder that these jobs must be new jobs. They must not replace existing or planned vacancies, nor cause existing employees or contractors to lose or reduce their current working hours. You are the employer, but essentially you are not paying for their salary, nor are you paying for their training. The investment you're making is your time and support, and the outcomes of this are twofold. One, to help a younger person who's finding it hard to get out of the cycle of unemployment actually be more employable, have a CV, have something to put on their CV and improve their future prospects. And two, this could be your potential staff member in the future, and you're actively helping putting more counter assistants and potential dispensers out there in the pharmacy workforce at a time where we really need it. So the MPA saw a great opportunity to enable community pharmacy to be able to access the scheme, and we wanted to partner with a big reputable brand. So we have partnered with Reed, who are the gateway organisation. Your journey starts on the MPA website, where you'll find information about the scheme and the initial application form, as well as the NPA pharmacy courses. Reed, as the gateway, handle the process, the administration and funding, and we can therefore together provide a full support package for your Kickstarter. Reed have a fully tailored application process from start to finish. They handle all the processes and do the majority of liaising with the Department for Work and Pensions, so you don't have to. You also get a job description, interview advice, and fully drafted contract sent to you. Reed also provide a comprehensive employability skills program, which is a requirement by the DWP, and you'll also receive dedicated support and communication throughout. So what can a Kickstarter actually do for you? The role is of a junior pharmacy assistant. So please note that this does not involve working in the dispensary unless they also enroll onto the MPA's Introduction to Pharmacy Stock Control course, where they can put away dispensary stock. So the minimum training that they will receive is the Medicines Counter Assistant course. This will allow them to develop customer service skills, work over the counter using the till, and complete sales transactions. You can also get them involved with stock control and general housekeeping, as well as other duties such as managing crowds to ensure social distancing or monitoring patients after vaccines if you are offering vaccines. There is flexibility to add other duties you deem reasonable, and as mentioned, you will be sent a job description. I will now pass you over to Christine from Reed, who will talk you through the process.
Okay. So thank you, Heenal. So Reed are working with MPA and the DWP to be able to present the Kickstart scheme for you. As mentioned, the application form to recruit a Kickstarter is hosted on the MPA website. Once you complete and submit the form, it then comes directly to myself and my team at Reed. You'll receive an automated response with details of the next steps, which is basically to await notification of approval from DWP. And this can take approximately 4 to 8 weeks. We're hopeful that it may come sooner, but there's unlikely to be any news before 4 weeks regarding your application. Once Reed receive notification from DWP, we can then move into step 2 of the process. We will notify you of your successful approval. However, bear in mind there may be the odd occasion where some companies have not been approved for any reason. This could be something as simple as the company house number not being correct on the company house website, or it may be something slightly more complex to do with the business setup. But we will notify you of your outcome as soon as we receive that news from DWP. Again, as we said, this could take 4 to 8 weeks. Once you are approved, we will then proceed to advertise your vacancy at the job centre. This process in itself can take an additional 2 weeks. At this stage, you have the opportunity to make slight changes. For instance, you may wish to change the contact details where the applications are sent to. You may even wish to withdraw your application because your circumstances have changed in the 4 to 8 week lead time that it's taken to approve your application. Or you may just wish to confirm any other details. So this 2 week window between approval and your vacancy being live at the job centre is an ideal window to make those changes. Once you have confirmed any changes, we will ask you to sign an employer agreement, which is just an understanding between DWP, ourselves as your gateway, and you, the employer. and it sets out how many vacancies you've been approved for and the general terms and conditions of the 6-month placement. You return that employer agreement to us, and then probably around about the same time, you'll start to receive referral emails from UC Kickstart, UC standing for Universal Credit. These referral emails simply tell you that the job centre has found a match. So they've found somebody in your locality looking for the type of role that you're advertising, and they are eligible for the Kickstart programme. No action needs to be taken at all with these referral emails. All they are doing is notifying you that there is a likelihood you will have some applications coming to you from some of these individuals, but probably not all of them. So just file away the notification emails, the referral emails, for safekeeping at this stage. So now we're making progress and we're on to step 3. You have had some applications, you've chosen people to interview, and you're ready to make an offer or offers if you see more than one ideal candidate. Once you make your offer and this is accepted by the Kickstart applicant, you must notify Reed so that we can then continue with the formal setup process, which means that you will eventually receive the startup grant and the wages for your Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter has access to their training, both employability skills and medicines counter assistant. Our experience has shown that this is the most problematic stage, and it can be and is often the failure to notify Reed that you have a new starter that can lead to some of the problems. So this is a really important step to remember in the process. And now we move on to step 4. Once we have received details of your new starter and we will have set them up on our system, we will send a welcome email to your Kickstarter and to yourself or the supervisor of the Kickstarter during their first week. This welcome email will inform them about how to access their employability skills training, and it will also include important information about enrolment onto the Medicines Counter Assistant course with EPA. It will also allow us to finalise the process by passing your bank details to our finance department in readiness to process the grant payment. As long as you remember to notify DWP on the first day of employment, there should be no problems or issues arising with your new starter Kickstarter setup. And Reed will receive the grant payment about 2 weeks after your Kickstarter's first day, and then we will be able to pay you that startup grant within the following week. So possibly around about a 3-week period, and you should receive the startup grant. As Heenal mentioned, you would set your Kickstarter up on your payroll and treat them like any other employee. You pay them for 25 hours at national minimum wage rate applicable to their age. National minimum wage increased on the 1st of April, so it's worth noting that this amount will have changed very recently. You will be reimbursed for wages that you pay out up to 25 hours at national minimum wage, round about week 6 after the Kickstarter's first day. And thereafter, you will be reimbursed monthly. And then on to the final step. A member of the Reed team will be on hand to support your Kickstarter throughout the programme. So it doesn't start and end with the welcome email. We'll provide you with contact details, login details for the training, and instruction how to complete the training. Any queries after that can be dealt with simply by a phone call or an email, and we will respond as quickly as we can. We sincerely hope your Kickstarter has a successful placement with you and that they become a valuable asset to your business. You may even wish to retain them as a permanent employee, which would be the best outcome all round. However, if you're unable to offer this for any reason, the placement will finish at the end of 6 months and the Kickstarter will re-register at the job centre. Thank you. Back to you, Heenal.
Thank you. The last slide is where you can find more information. So please do take your time to read through the information on the NPA website, where you can see our key benefits leaflet, employer hiring process guide, as well as interview guidance and FAQs. And we will now take questions.
Right, there you go. Heenal, back over to you. Apologies there. I stopped. I was a bit too quick to stop that.
That's okay. That's apology. So if we start, a couple of questions that have come in, and we had a few before the event as well. So if we can start with the ones that have come in before, Simon, you can go through those ones, please.
I certainly can. Right. Okay. So first question, when we apply, can we delay the start of the individual?
Yes, you can. So when you apply, one of the questions you're asked is what is the ideal start date for your Kickstarter? So this will be on the application form. You can give an indication on there. But if you're not sure, or even if you change your mind by the time as the approval comes through, and I totally understand the circumstances may change from the point of application to the point of approval, and that's absolutely fine. You can then delay the start if in fact you're not quite ready. The scheme's open for registration until December this year. So once you've been approved, you can take your Kickstarter on at any time up until the 31st of December. But I would ask you to let us know at npa.kickstart@reed.com, just so that we can monitor your place and make sure that we put it on hold rather than give it away to anybody else.
Brilliant. Thanks, Christine. Okie dokie. Will I be allocated funds to pay the individual, or will they be paid automatically by the government?
Okay, good question. A very common question. We may have answered some of this or alluded to some of this in the presentation. The government Kickstart scheme funds a Kickstarter for 6 months, up to 25 hours a week at national minimum wage. Anything over and above that, if you want them to work longer hours or you want to pay them more, that's an agreement between you, the employer, and your Kickstarter. But let's assume you're taking them on at the 25 hours at national minimum wage. You will first of all receive the £500 grant that we've already spoken about, and you should receive that within 2 to 3 weeks of your Kickstarter starting. That is, of course, assuming that you notify Reed that you do have a new starter, and you also notify DWP on the first day that your Kickstarter joins your pharmacy. Assuming those two pieces of information locked together, the DWP will then send us the grant money within 2 weeks, and we'll pay it onto you within a further 5 working days. You set the Kickstarter up on your payroll, and you run your normal payroll with the Kickstarter, and the first reimbursement will come round about week 6, week 7. I'm getting a lot of inquiries. I haven't received my money. Please, with all due respect, can I ask you not to kind of put a circle on the calendar? We're totally at the mercy of DWP, and until they send us the money, we can't release the money to you. So it's on or around week 6, but I have known some payments be as late as week 8, which I'm inclined to say that's not acceptable, but when we've been told week 6, but I would again stress that we are at the mercy of DWP and their processes. So bear with us, but we have the mechanisms and the processes to check every penny that comes into Reed. So as long as we know who your Kickstarter is and which pharmacy you are, we will be able to definitely tell you if we've received the grant money and if and when it's been paid to you. So we keep track of all of that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christine. Okie dokie. Can I employ more than one person to work in my pharmacy?
Gosh, yes. Why not? There's 250,000 young people registered on the Kickstart scheme, all looking for a job. I'm not suggesting you take anything like that amount, but the ethos and the spirit of the scheme is to welcome and support as many young unemployed people into work as possible. Having said that, we want to ensure, just as well as government do, that the Kickstarter has a good experience at work. This may be their first job. They may have had a bad experience with a previous employer. They may have been unemployed for a long time. We just don't know their circumstances. And many Kickstarters, from reading their testimonies now, are saying that, you know, they welcome this opportunity. We've heard Ellen speak already. They really do enjoy the opportunity and the chance that they've been given. We want to take as many on as possible, but we also want to make sure that they're being supported. Ideally, DWP like to see a very close working relationship with an experienced member of staff in the pharmacy. One-to-one's ideal, but certainly one experienced member of staff to 2 Kickstarters should be the maximum that you're applying for. But that aside, you can apply as many times as you wish for as many Kickstarters as you wish.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christine. Okay, next question is, how much holiday time are they allowed?
I think the easiest way to answer this is to say you should treat them like any other employee. They're entitled to the same terms and conditions of employment as any other employee, but for the purpose of the Kickstart scheme, they're employed for 25 hours a week as a minimum, and for 6 months. So whatever the going holiday rate is at your pharmacy, you should just prorata that for them, and they're entitled to do that. Government will continue to pay you for 25 hours a week, even if they're on holiday, as long as that holiday is within their entitlement. Obviously, if they take more than their entitlement, again, like any other member of staff, it would be unpaid leave, or however you classify it and deal with it in your business.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay. Can I keep an individual on or take on someone else from the Kickstart scheme? I'm a new business and it would help a lot.
Yes, we would again love to see these Kickstart opportunities leading into permanent full-time employment. That is just the perfect scenario, and I'm sure a lot of the Kickstarters would want that to happen as well. So if you see an opportunity at the end of the 6 months where you can retain them in your business because they've turned out to be a good employee, you have a vacancy, you want to strengthen your team with whatever skill set they bring, then yes, please take them on full time. If in fact you're not in a position to take them on as a full-time permanent employee, then they simply go back to the job centre. Although at Reed, because we are a recruitment company, we would do our very best to try and find them a job at the end of 6 months. But if they do go back to the job centre, they're entitled to go on to another Kickstart scheme. And in the same way, you're entitled to apply for another Kickstarter.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Okay. Would I need to include the individual on my PAYE, or are they paid automatically by the government?
Yeah, so maybe I've alluded to this already when we talked about the grant and the wages, but yes, like any other employee, you would put them onto your payroll, onto your PAYE system. the whole algorithm of how the system works is based quite simply on the government paying through HMRC, is paying universal credit to your unemployed Kickstarter before they join you. What the government is doing is quite simply taking that universal credit back from the Kickstarter and transferring it into the payroll system. So essentially, the scheme isn't costing the government too much money because they were spending that money in universal credit anyway. So if they go onto your PAYE system, the government has sight of that through HMRC, and where the money's been transferred, they can then allocate it to you for your Kickstarter. So it's absolutely essential that they go on your PAYE system for visibility and transparency, and they can see that that person is working for you.
Thank you, Christine. Okie dokie. I've been advised of candidates referred for a possible application. How do I know if someone has applied?
So at the first stage, once your vacancies have gone live at the job centre, you will receive the referral emails from UC Kickstart. As we've mentioned before, all you need to do at this stage is just file them away somewhere in some kind of, folder in your emails. At some point, a week or maybe 2 weeks after that, you'll start to receive applications that align to some of those referral emails. You won't see an application for every single referral email, because where the DWP have done a matching service from their database, they're also matching candidates to many other vacancies that they've got in the locality. So it could be that, let's use the fictitious Jane Smith. Jane Smith could be registered for universal credit with a job centre, but she's actually been identified and matched to 5 different vacancies that have gone live in that same week. One of them could be yours. Jane Smith may choose to apply for your vacancy, or she may choose to apply for another vacancy that she's been matched with. So you won't see a like-for-like number of applications to referral emails. But what you should see is for every candidate that does apply, there is a referral email to match that candidate. And if there isn't, you should double check that either with me at mpa.kickstart, or you should check it with the individual, because without a referral email, there is no link back to funding and transferring the funding from universal credit to become wages, as I explained before. I hope that makes sense. But if there's any doubt about the candidates that are applying and you're not sure if they have come from the job centre, myself or my team will always be able to help you out with that. The key to that is the unique identifier, the introduction ID, which you'll see on the referral email. That's the key to unlocking the funding, you could say.
Brilliant. Thank you, Christine. Okay. Can your Kickstarter work for more than 25 hours per week at your own expense if need be?
Yeah. Again, I may have covered this before. It's an agreement between you and your Kickstarter, and many are looking for more than 25 hours. Most of them are looking for full time, but that is an agreement that you discuss and make at interview, depending on your individual circumstances at the pharmacy.
Okie dokie, brilliant, thank you. Okie dokie, got another question here. Just to say, actually, briefly, just to everybody, we're due to finish at 7:45 tonight, so we're just under 10 minutes. Obviously, we've had lots and lots of questions through already. Do continue sending those. If we run out of time, then of course, as Heenal said at the beginning, we'll happily follow up with you following the event. But if you do have any further questions, please do send them in. Right, just going to look for the next question. Where are we? We've done that one. If the employer has already been approved but have not been able to deal with any applications, how do we restart the process if we wish?
The simplest way to do that is to email npa.kickstart@reed.com, and just say that, you know, I'm aware that I was approved a while ago, but so far we haven't seen any suitable candidates, but the applications seem to have stopped coming. DWP have this, well, I think it's slightly bizarre, if I may say that. They have this system by which they will send so many referral emails and then they will stop. The reason I say bizarre, because as working an employee of a recruitment company, we don't stop the applications going to the client until we filled the role. So I just find that a little bit of a dichotomy when I'm dealing with this situation. However, that is the likelihood of the situation, that you've reached your maximum referral limit, and the job centre will assume that, well, why wouldn't you have found an ideal candidate by this limit? So all we need to do is just refresh that vacancy. And if you drop an email to me, to myself or my team, once you email npa.kickstart, I can see that email. My team of 4 people can see it. So one of us will answer it in exactly the same way. And we will just send it through to the job centre and ask them to refresh the vacancy. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Okay, I think there's one Lucy wanted to take. Can you please provide the best emails to notify the DWP and Reed of the employee's start?
Yeah, so there are 2 email addresses. Once the employee starts, they will need to email jobplacement.kickstart@dwp.gov.uk. What we'll do, we will put those in the answers, the Q&As that will circulate as well. And then the best email for Reed, and Christine, please correct me if I get this wrong, is npa.kickstart@reed.co.uk. .com. There we go. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've just put those in the chat, hopefully. I think they might be right. Can you just double check those for the audience? Just put those in the chat, so they can hopefully copy and paste those, so they are correct. Okie dokie. I think that's all the questions we've got for the moment. Christine, I don't know if you want to have a quick look at the, there's a couple more in there, if they're ones that we can answer live now, or they're ones that we need to go back to people on. Heenal, did you have anything you wanted to add at this stage? We can run our poll maybe, or oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, we've got one final poll that we wanted to run once we'd finished. So maybe if there's no more questions.
There is a couple, but I think just because they are maybe specifics, there might be ones that we need to take offline. But while Christine's looking at that, should we run the poll then, as you say?
Yeah, let's do the poll.
Fantastic. Let me just load that. So yeah, fingers on buzzers again. It's another question we asked earlier, but just wanted to gauge your understanding and the usefulness of tonight's presentation and questions. So please just let us know how you feel, to what extent do you agree with the following statement? I feel knowledgeable about the Kickstart scheme and process. So give you about 30 seconds to do that. Okay, I think most of you have sent in already. Okay, let's give you a couple more seconds. Okie dokie, right, I will close that there. So yeah, thank you all very much for submitting those poll. It's really useful to us to understand your understanding and the usefulness of these events. So thank you. Heenal or Christine, I don't know if you had any questions, Christine, you wanted to pick up from?
Yes, there's 3 in the. Yeah, I'm happy to. I don't know how many people are actually on tonight that I've actually spoken to before, but hello to anybody if we've conversed in person. I do receive an awful lot of phone calls, more than happy to answer, but this is really a good opportunity because some of the questions are very common and it's good to be able to answer to an audience at the same time. So one of the questions here from is one of my Kickstarters found a more suitable job after 3 weeks and left us. Can I apply for a replacement? First of all, the answer to that question is it's good if your Kickstarter's found a more suitable job or a permanent role. It's inconvenient for you, yes, you've invested time into that person. But if we remember the spirit of the scheme, we're trying to help people into permanent roles wherever we can. But absolutely, yes, you can apply for a replacement person. You don't need to go back through the whole process again. We just need to notify that particular job centre where your Kickstarter came from and just said that we have a lever, can we please refresh the vacancy? So you're not waiting weeks and weeks to find a replacement. And that's happening quite a lot, actually, and it's happened to us a lot at Reed as well. In one way, we're pleased to see people find a permanent role, but in another way, we need to go through that replacement process ourselves. And next question, what happens regarding a pregnant Kickstarter? Apart from health and safety, is there other things I need to consider? From personal experience, I can answer this because we had a situation at Reed today where we've got exactly the same circumstances. And speaking to my HR department today, we just are treating her. She didn't tell us she was pregnant before she came onto the Kickstart placement, but we now know from her due date that she obviously was. And she didn't have to disclose that, as you don't have to disclose it within the employment law. And now we just follow that process through, and she's entitled to time off for midwife appointments or medical appointments. So exactly the same as any other employee would have entitlement. Whatever your contractual terms are, the Kickstarter would get exactly the same. So I hope that answers that. That very timely question for me, because I've been dealing with that today. And then I think a final question, if I can see, what if at the end of 6 months you deem the Kickstarter to not meet the standards required for the role? There is, we're not talking a probationary period here, we're not talking any kind of pass or fail. The opportunity to have a Kickstart placement is a gift. If that gift then becomes a permanent job, then everybody benefits. If you feel at the end that that person has been, has added value to your business, but you can't see a future for that person in your business, then the Kickstart placement naturally comes to its conclusion at the end of 6 months. By the same token, if that person was not meeting your standards for any reason, you can ask them to leave before the end of 6 months. We've had an issue with somebody in Reed who, with attendance, basically not turning up on time, things like that. And we're just going through the normal HR process with them now. They're normal employees, so they have to abide by your rules, but at the same token, you treat them like any other employee. So if they're not meeting your standard, you don't have to see the 6 months out, and you certainly don't have to keep them at the end. But we hope that everybody ends up being happy, and you like the Kickstarter and they like you, and we get a happy ending.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add to that as well, if you wish to keep them on as dispensers, you can use part of the funding that you do receive to put them on the course after the 6 months if you think appropriate. Alternatively, if you live in England, we've also got a pharmacy retail apprenticeship that you can put them on. So that includes a retail apprenticeship as well as, which is funded, as well as a funded dispensers course. So you can keep them on for another year at an apprenticeship's wage if you wish to do that as well. And I think that is it for the questions, I believe. So I'll wrap up. Thank you very much to everyone who has joined today. Thank you very much to Christine for answering all those questions. You are a fountain of Kickstart knowledge. Thank you as well, Lucy and Simon, of course. To everybody here, please do look at all the FAQs on the website. A lot of questions that have come up are covered in the FAQs, and we will continue to add common questions to those FAQs. There's a lot of information on the website that can help you, and of course you've got the email addresses as well if you do need. We will continue to make monthly submissions to the DWP. There is one going tomorrow. If you've got time to submit that tonight or tomorrow, then that will be going tomorrow at 5 p.m. And if you missed that one, we will continue doing it every month. So even if you've got your Kickstarters, if you want more, just keep applying for more. And if this continues going until December 2021, then you could have a couple. And I think we'll leave it there. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ina. Thanks, everybody. Good evening.